Welcome back to Asinine Radio, a weekly podcast where we talk about music, and, well, that's pretty much it. So, let's go!
This is Asinine Radio. This is the weekly music podcast where every week we get into a different band, different artist, and we listen to all of their records, and we rank them from worst to best. We're doing Rush this week. We're going to be doing all 19 of their records. We listened to 19 fucking Rush records this week, or over the last 2 weeks, I should say. And we're going to give our biggest banger from each of them, possibly a stinker if we got them, and try to have a good time doing it. Normally we start with our 6 degrees of Tom DeLonge, but I didn't do it this week because this is a lot. There's a lot of Rush.
Okay.
A lot of Rush this week.
We just don't do our homework. That's fine.
And we're also starting, this is the beginning of Canada season right now. So the next 4 episodes, this episode included, obviously, will be all about Canadian bands. So Canada season is in full effect. So stay tuned for that one.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so do you have a 6 degrees of Tom DeLonge? Did you do your homework?
Well, I mean, if we're going to be talking about it, we should be doing it, right? And I did do it.
Okay. Did you do it? Okay, what do you got? This is where we connect our boy Tom DeLonge with the band or artist of the week. So what do you got this week, Jeff? Go.
I thought you may do one, so I tried to do like a deeper cut one, but Jeff Jones, right? Everybody knows Jeff Jones from Rush.
Okay.
OG member.
Everyone knows, yes.
Jeff Jones, he played in, I tried to do the other guy from Rush's Rush, the drummer, but he didn't really do much, John Rutsky or something. But Jeff Jones is playing in the Burton's Cummings band. He's like a band that he does. Burton Cummings, who's that? I don't know. He was in the Guess Who, right? He was the lead guitarist in the Guess Who. American woman, mama can roll me. Burton Cummings was in the Guess Who with Randy Bachman. Right? BTO.
Yeah.
Bachman Turner Overdrive. Every morning. Dude, I'm just excited to talk about my 6 degrees here. Randy Bachman.
You just happy to be here, man.
His solo album Survivor had this guy Jeff Porcaro on it as a drummer. I don't know who he is, but Jeff Porcaro played drums on a Springsteen album. Springsteen had who on drums on one of his later albums?
I don't know who.
Who do you think?
Jay Weinberg?
Nope. Josh Freese.
What? Really? Josh Freese played with Springsteen?
Loser?
No shit. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense, I guess.
And then here we are to Josh Freese.
Josh Freese.
As we normally come around to.
I try not to do Josh or Brooks. It's too easy. Or even Travis is too easy.
Here's what I do. Here's what I do. When I do these ones, I'm like, man, I'm in like 4 steps here. I don't know where I'm going with this. Then I start to look for. So I had Jeff Porcaro. That was already step 4 or 4 degrees, and then I look for something that he's played on that I know they've made a lot of fucking albums and recent albums. And so then I saw he played with a lot of people, this guy Jeff Porcaro, over the years. And then I saw Springsteen. I was like, oh, well, yeah, Springsteen just came out with the fucking album last year. Like, Josh Freese probably played drums on it. And then I had to go down like 3 or 4 albums. But yeah, he played on one track on one of his albums. So that's what I do. I try and get a deep cut, and then after a while, I kind of get lazy, and then like, okay, how can I relate this to Josh Freese?
It's a good idea. It is a good idea.
It works like almost every time.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So that's what I got. That was
stupid.
fun. Good job. Yours was also fun. Equally as fun.
Mine was great.
More fun.
Mine was great.
Uh-huh.
All right. So let's jump into the Rush stuff. You know, like I said, 19 Rush records. We listened to 19 Rush records, and we're going to rank them from worst to best. So what is the worst Rush record for you? Go.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to keep these short because there's 19 fucking records.
Some of these I only have one sentence for, but yeah. Number 19, Roll the Bones, 14th album, 1991. What in the fuck is even this? That's it. This is embarrassing and silly. This is like prog guys who are in a midlife crisis and just trying to sound like Phil Collins or some shit. This is fucking terrible. Absolutely terrible. Goodbye.
Oh shit. Wait, 1 sec. Oh, wait. Why can I not find my rank? Can you imagine if I deleted all my rankings?
That would be boring.
That would suck,
because
dude.
then That's why you always got to have handwritten documents or something. I don't know. I don't write it down.
All right. So that was your number 19 is Roll the Bones. No
Yeah.
banger, obviously.
Yeah.
19 for me is Power Windows, 11th record from 1985. They just fucking ramped up the synths on this one. It's cheesier. They're cheesier than ever. The drum tone is the typical 80s trash sound that I fucking hate. It's just sounds bad. The songs are weak, not memorable. It's just, this is everything. I hate this kind of 80s style music. It's garbage. So 19, Power Windows. I mean, especially coming off of fucking Moving Pictures. I mean, that was 4 years prior, but you know, from that to this, it's bad. It's bad. So yeah, 19 is Power Windows for me.
Okay.
What do you got for 18?
Power Windows, baby. 85.
Okay.
This is bad. This is bad 80s Rush that had zero redeeming qualities. Bad.
Yeah.
It's not even okay. We're not even in the okays yet. These are bad. These are bad records.
Agreed. Yeah, not even okay Rush yet. All right, my 18 is Roll the Bones, 14th record from 1991. This album is just, it's not very good at all. There's so much U2. I hear so much U2 going on here, and we all know, you know, how much we hate U2. Everything just seems to be really dumbed down too. It's just, there was this lull where I feel like within Rush in the 80s and most of the 90s, just this like lull in I don't want to say musicianship, but just in making something making exciting songs, and that's what I hear here. Neil just seems like he's just not doing anything. Like he just doesn't care. He's going along with the, not the flow, but just kind of the, what am I trying to say here? I don't know, whatever. Neil just doesn't sound very good on this record. Okay. A lot more soaring choruses and parts, and just really the songs are shorter, more straightforward, and I don't think that's what they do best. They don't do short songs well. They do proggy stuff well. So
you've only done
Roll
one
the Bones.
good short song.
Okay, well, I guess we'll get into that.
We will eventually.
So yeah, what's your 17? Go.
The next like 10 are kind of just whatever. I could probably interchange them. I don't remember much. But Test for Echo, their 16th album from '96. This one started off mediocre and then turned into something that I fucking absolutely hated. And after a while, these songs blended together, and all I heard was like fucking Getty singing the whole goddamn time. So that was my note that I wrote for myself as I listened to this. I have no recollection of this whatsoever.
The Test for Echo, you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right, so my 17 is Hold Your Fire from 1987, 12th record. This is a little bit more guitar driven than the last three records, which is always nice. Especially with Rush, because I mean, just God, the amount of synth that they were using. Even Alex Lifeson said at the time, and even now, that they were doing way too much of the synth stuff, and some more bad drum sounds. I just don't like that sound. Alex's guitar tone is very tinny. It's just not. It's a bad guitar tone. It's not the worst they've done, but I mean, I would never ever go back to this record. There's no reason.
No, yes, you should not.
No reason. So. Yeah, Hold Your Fire is my 17. What do you got for 16?
Just at most, you should only be going, if you were to say you're going back to a record, at most, there should only be 8 records you go back to. At most.
Even that, yeah, I get, yeah. 8 is too much. Wouldn't even go back to 8 Rush records.
Good.
All right,
16,
what do you got for 16?
Presto Changeo.
Presto.
13th, 1989. This, I don't remember anything about this. Just another notch in the belt. This is completely unmemorable, but the song Superconductor was on this, and that song's fucking dope, dude. That was like a glam rock song without like it being over the top glam rock. It was just a good rock song. And these guys can do fucking just good rock and roll music. They did it in their first record, they did it in their last record. They can do good rock and roll music. And Superconductor was fucking rad.
All right. Presto is also my number 16. There's some cheesy synth stuff. It's not too overpowering. They're kind of stepping away from it a little bit. They haven't gone full U2 like they did on whatever that record was I mentioned earlier. I can't even remember. Neil stepped it up a little bit more on this one, especially since the last...
Neil stepped it up. So good.
And isn't that fucked up to say? Because he's like one of the greatest drummers ever. But I mean, comparing it to like the previous 3 or 4 records, stepped it up a little bit. Some songs remind me actually of Jane's Addiction a little bit, kind of the riffage, the vocals a little bit, kind of Jane's Addiction-ish. And I mean, it makes sense. 1989. I mean, they were pretty damn popular at the time. But really, in the end, this album's more forgettable than anything else. So I got no banger on this one either.
Who cares?
So what do you got for 15?
It's awful. 15, baby. Counterparts. Their 15th album, actually. Yeah, 93. Okay. Interesting output. Someone's here bothering. What's going on here? The triple XL shirt. Oh, okay, he got me a triple XL shirt that
you'll never wear.
I will grow into, I guess. So anyway, Counterparts, number 15, their 15th record, 1993. This is an interesting output. The instrumental parts were harder and a little bit heavier, but they blended like softer melodies, and then they would eventually just turn into softer rocking songs. And so I liked what they were doing with the instrumental parts, but then like why do you have to always end up in the same spot? Like why do you always have to end up being just like soft kind of like rock song? Because this is grunge season right here, and they could have put out a fucking rad album, but they didn't.
Yeah, they could have really doubled down on the heaviness, the dark tones of grunge.
So you could tell like they were influenced at least partly by grunge of this era, but bleh.
Which I'll get into when I get to that record on my list. But 15 for me is Snakes and Arrows, 18th album from 2007. No banger. Really, this is not. It's not a bad album, but it's just very forgettable. It's just really a half-assed attempt at making a more modern and hard rock record with a tiny bit of prog. But other than that, it's forgettable. I really remember nothing from this except that it wasn't bad. So Snakes and Arrows from 2007. I'm over it. What do you got for 14?
Hold Your Fire. That's my 14. Their 12th album, 1987. This one was weird because on the one hand, I think the synth-driven 80s like pop albums are just fucking garbage. I hate Geddy's voice so goddamn much when he's doing that type of music. It's silly and embarrassing. But he shares the lead vocals on one of the tracks with somebody else, like some girl. And I was like, dude, there's no contrast. I can't even dial. It's like having like Mark and Skeebs sing at the same time. Like they sound the same. What's the point? Shut the fuck up. But on the other hand, the band sounds tight. They sound tight. They sound like they're having fun. They sound like they did on Moving Pictures, and even before that, like when they're really kind of like setting into a groove of like 2112. This may be the last time, besides their newest album, that they sounded really tight, and I was having a good time. All right.
So my number 14 is Signals, 9th record from 1982.
Wow.
Only a year after Moving Pictures, the album of the week. So this album is just covered in synth, really doubled down on it after Moving Pictures. Great performances though. I mean, really everybody did a great job. The synth just adds too much of the cheesy 80s feel to the songs. So I would never go back to this. I wouldn't get it on vinyl. If you really want to listen to heavy synth Rush records, just listen to fucking Moving Pictures. It's all there. I do have a banger though, The Analog Kid. This is a faster, more rock and roll kind of song. I mean, I know it's layered in synth, but there's some great guitar parts and just Alex rips it up on this song. This is just a really good, faster rock and roll song. I really, really dig Analog Kid. So yeah, okay. Signals is my number 14. What do you got for 13?
13, Snakes and Arrows, their 18th. I don't really remember much from this one. The only really note that I had is I like this a little bit better than the other ones because it's a little bit more hard rock focused, and there was just a lot of instrumentals. That's it.
All right. That's it.
That's it. That's the only reason why it's this high, I guess.
Oh, shit. All right. 13 for me is Grace Under Pressure, 10th record from 1984. No banger. This is barely a step up from Signals. And the only reason is because there's a little bit less of the synth stuff. The band seems a little bit more focused. And then there's some like reggae thrown in there as well. That reminded me a lot of The Police. So I did like that they changed it up a little bit, and it's barely above Signals for me. But yeah, I have no banger off of Grace Under Pressure. So
Okay.
what do you got for 12?
We're flying through these, baby boy.
Dude, I want to, because there's really nothing to
these
talk
are
about.
Stupid.
And really too, like reading into each of these records, and there's actually a lot written about each of these records, a lot of words, but it's just like a lot of it's just repeated shit, and it's just like this is what they were doing leading up to the record, and then there's not much written about the actual recording. It's just a lot of filler stuff, and from everything I was reading,
a lot of filler.
This isn't like they're not like a party band, so you get no like extracurricular stories.
No,
I mean they're just normal dudes, which is totally cool. It's totally fine, but it just didn't make for a good read.
No,
but whatever.
No, that's whatever.
Right. So what do you got for number 12?
Number 12, Grace Under Pressure. This came out right before Power Windows, so there's a lot of similarities. With this one, I felt they leaned into like what I think was Rush gone 80s, rather than just become like a full-fledged 80s group. So Power Windows, they just became an 80s group. This one is more like Rush is now doing 80s. Geddy has some great bass tones. Yeah. They went from like deep and rich to high and thin, and then like Neil just. I'll have things to say about him in the 80s and just his progression and playing the drums, but I don't hate him on the electronic drums. I'll say that.
Okay, that's fair. But just that tone, ugh, I hate it. Okay, so 12 was so that was your 12. My 12 is Test for Echo, 16th record from 1996. So many goddamn records. No banger on here. This one just to me has a wider range of influence, like modern influence at this point. I actually hear a lot of Primus. I hear some Tool on here too. Just the kind of like darker prog rock that you hear with Tool. I hear it on this record. But it also has a lot of alt rock sounding stuff too that you heard in the mid 90s, like post grunge stuff. I hear a lot of that on parts of this record. And it has some of the heavier riffs from, honestly, some of the heaviest riffs they've done are on this record outside of, there's another, what album was it? I forgot. There's one other record that has like some really heavy fucking shit, but now I can't remember what it is. But anyway, there's some really heavy shit on here. Alex Lifeson really brought it when it comes to his riffage. So yeah, that's my number 12, Test for Echo. What do you got for 11?
Signals, their 9th record.
Signals.
I will tell you, I've had this on the vinyls, dude, like 5 times, and I've had so much Rush on the vinyls so often, and I've tried to listen to it, and most of the time I get through like side A, and then I'm like, nah, I'm good.
I'm out.
But this time around, I like this a lot. I mean, it's ranked 11, so there's 10 more records that are exponentially better, and I'll never go back to this. But this is a lot better than I remembered it being recently. I mean, it's definitely an 80s output with lots of synth shit, but there's also a ton of like Geddy's great bass playing, and it's woven into the melodies. So like the songwriting part of it is actually pretty amazing. But it's still an 80s shitty fucking synth-driven Rush record. I don't care. So,
Yeah. There's so much better Rush to listen to.
Absolutely.
There really is. All right. My number 11 is Vapor Trails, 17th record from O2. And this album was, they had taken a small hiatus because there was a Neil Peart, his daughter died in a tragic car accident, and then his wife died like 9 months later of cancer. And he says it was because she was the stress of losing the daughter, but he fucking lost his daughter and wife within a year. That's fucking devastating. It's devastating. So then he rode his motorcycle all across the United States. He clocked in like 55,000 miles or something like that. He wrote a book about it eventually. And then at the time, Geddy and Alex didn't even know if Rush were going to continue after all the stuff that had happened. And then Neil decided to come back, and this is what we get. We get Vapor Trails, arguably one of their heavier records. This album is just fucking loud, and it was mixed and mastered loud. The band fucking hated it. Fans hated it. So they ended up remixing it and remastering it in 2013 because they just hated it so much because it was just it was too fucking loud, no dynamic to it. And even this remix, it sounds blown out at points. It really, like, they couldn't save the original mix. It does sound blown out, but it's a heavier record. My banger is Secret Touch. Just real heavy, fast, kind of aggressive song. The riff is awesome. It reminds me actually reminds me a little bit of Primus during the anti-pop era, the anti-pop record, which is my favorite Primus record. And so yeah, I hear a ton of that, and it makes sense. 2002, Anti-Pop came out in 1999. Good friends with the band, so that all makes sense. Vapor Trails, my number 11. What do you got for number 10?
Top 10, baby. Vapor Trails.
There we go.
Dude, this one started off with just a certified banger. Absolutely great opening track. One Little Victory. That's one of their coolest and hardest and most aggressive songs they've ever done. And it also showed us that like Neil still slays at the drums and is kind of almost better in some aspects than he's ever been. And like we finally hear him do the double bass, like full on showcase us like the double bass. Like he's been hinting at it, and we heard it kind of in Fly By Night, but like this is just like right there in the front, double bass, cool. The rest of the album kind of tapered off a little bit. I don't think it ever recovered. So I don't think this is a good album. That it just has some cool bangers sprinkled in. And then, like you said, actually both of our bangers are the only two singles that came out for this, which is kind of funny. But yeah, both of those songs I think are absolute bangers. But the record, it's still meh.
Yeah, I would never go back to it. I mean, I listened to those songs again, but I would never go back to the record. But my number 10 is Clockwork Angels. Their last record from 2012, heavier, louder record, not as gritty as Vapor Trails. This just seems like a more focused record. And like you said, like this is like a band that sounds like they're having fun. Like they just didn't care. They just kind of went into the studio and just had a blast, and they weren't trying to meet a quota or anything like that. And some like interesting little tidbits about this record too. This is technically their only full concept record. They've never put out a concept songs and portions of a record, but never a full record. And so this is the only one that they ever did, their final record. And they put this record out on Roadrunner Records. So that's maybe why, the heavier thing, because Roadrunner is generally heavier bands. It was produced by Nick Raskulinces. I don't know how to pronounce his stupid name. He does a lot of heavy bands. He's done a lot of heavy bands over the years. He's done Korn. He's done a couple Korn records. So I thought that was a cool little connection, and also it kind of leads to them this kind of heavier sounding riffs. And also they wrote there was an accompanying novel that went along with the story of this record, and it was written by Kevin J. Anderson. And you probably don't recognize the name, but Kevin J. Anderson was he wrote a ton of Star Wars books in the 90s. Like a lot of fucking Star Wars books. He was a huge part of the expanded universe, the original expanded universe, and he was my favorite author of that era. He wrote some of the better books, and he wrote this novel. So I thought that was really cool connection. Kevin J. Anderson, really cool author. So yeah, I like that Star Wars connection. And my banger off this one is BU2B, or is that or Boo2B? I don't know. How do you say that?
I don't know.
How would you say it?
I'm not a fucking Clockwork Angels expert.
So this is my banger. It has like a Muse sounding riff, and I know you hate Muse, but their first 3-4 records are fucking solid. Really fucking solid. Really good heavier riffs on those records, and that's what I hear on this song. But it also has this kind of driving rock and roll thing to it with that heavier riff. So that's a solid song. That's my banger off of Clockwork Angels. So I dig this one. Wouldn't buy it on vinyl, but we haven't got to that point yet. So what do you got for number 9?
Permanent Waves. This is going to cause some waves for some people probably. Permanent Waves, their 7th album. Solid album. It is. It's a good album. It's just, It's a little too synthy already. Already here, 1980. My God. Like they just couldn't fucking wait. 1980. Let's throw synths in there. Okay. Whatever. Natural Science was the best song here because it kind of had everything. It just didn't quite rock as hard as I want them to. And there's also just like some synth in here that just didn't fucking need to be there. And that's what bothers me most about Rush is they add shit that just doesn't need to be there, especially the synth and Geddy's vocals at their best. I mean, we'll get it when we get into 2112 and YYZ and stuff. Like, that's them at their best. But, like, don't add things that don't need to be there. Like, take a page out of Neil's book. Neil doesn't do that. It sounds like he does that, but he doesn't fucking do that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
whatever. The Permanent Waves, I just don't really care for this album. I've had this on the vinyls like 3 times. It's in my record store currently because I purchased it for my collection anyway. I just don't. I don't care for it. I don't like it.
All right.
I don't care.
All right. My number 9 is Counterparts, 15th record from 1993.
Wow.
This is still an okay record. I wouldn't get this on vinyl.
Wow.
This is a weird time for the band. There was a lot of tension between Alex and Geddy. Geddy wanted to use more synth. Alex wanted more guitar. So they've kind of fought, I guess you could say. But with Rush, they're just so like they're so calm. They're like what's the word to describe somebody
They're
like
Canadian?
they're so calm.
They're
docile.
Apologizing
Canadian.
all the time. Sorry, hey, like, you want more guitar? Hey, oh yeah, hey, you want more synth? Hey, yeah, hey.
Exactly. Yes, that's how. Yes, that's exactly how those conversations went. So when I see that there was a lot of tension, I feel like it wasn't that bad. Like it didn't result to fist fights or anything like that. But at this point in 1993, they had just toured with Primus and Pearl Jam, and you can hear that influence. You hear that kind of slower, not chuggier, but slower, like grittier guitar tone in Alex that you hear in Pearl Jam, which we don't like Pearl Jam, but you hear that influence on here. Just heavier, crunchier. Neil doesn't really rip it up as much as he used to, but that's fine. Like everybody else kind of makes up for that, and he just plays to the groove, and that's totally cool too. Geddy's bass is super, super loud, punchy, heavy. Really dig that. Just everything was heavier here, and I think that's why I like it. My banger is Cut to the Chase. Just some really good riffs from Alex, very grunge inspired. You could hear it, and they do it really well. They do the grunge well. They don't do it cheesy like Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam. They actually do it well, and that's surprising. And that guitar solo in the song too, it fucking rips. It's a great guitar solo from Alex on this song, on Cut to the Chase. So it's my number 9, Counterparts.
Chase.
What do you got for number 8?
That's fine. You're
That's
allowed.
fine, dude.
You're allowed opinions. A little high. That's okay. Number 8, Clockwork Angels, their last
That's
album, 19. But it's like 2 higher than yours.
I know.
It's not that high, and it is a good album.
I know.
I think this is like,
fine.
we didn't know it at the time, but like this is the best final album that Rush could have put out, because it encompasses every generation of this band without being cheesy about it. You have everything from like Rush's Rush all the way up into like Vapor Trails, and then because there's my favorite song, Headlong Flight. This is the one. What the fuck album did you just like? Counterparts. The song, like my banger on this one's Headlong Flight, because this was super heavy. It was aggressive, and it reminded me of just good 90s grungy alt rock. And it was later in the album, so that's kind of like reminiscent of the 90s era of Rush. And I think it was cool. Like they made a concept album, both in like theme, but then also like musically. It like started off and then ended off, and it was like, oh, here's everything we've ever done as a band. And I think this is it's sad, but like this is a fucking killer final album.
Yeah.
Like this is
Especially being their 19th record in.
dude, this is a killer final album. And there's orchestral stuff here mixed with prog and synth driven shit mixed with like hard rock. And over the years, like I've hated that. But they did it well here because that was the point of that specific song. But then the song itself would blend into the next song, and the next song would take you on a separate journey throughout their career. It was like watching those cheesy like clip videos, for like TV shows. Like they do a greatest hits TV, like on Seinfeld, and they mash up all the...
yeah.
What do you call those those episodes?
Yeah, filler episodes for sure, but I know what you're talking about.
But they just it's like a clip art, like a greatest hits clip video or episode, and it's filler, but it kind of like takes you through like where have we been, where are we now, and that's what Clockwork Angels was.
Every sitcom did that too.
It was
every sitcom in the 90s did that.
I think like the biggest takeaway for this one for me is I do think Clockwork Angels honestly is better than Permanent Waves. Now we're getting into like the better albums of Rush. Not the best, not the great, but just better albums of Rush. So now things are going to get a little dicey. I do think Clockwork Angels is better than Permanent Waves. Fight me.
Okay, that's fine. All right. So my number 8 is Permanent Waves, 7th album, 1980. This is, there's nothing wrong with this record. Really, there's nothing wrong. But 7 Rush records, So the next 7 Rush records are fucking awesome. I don't imagine myself ever listening to more than 7 Rush records in one sitting. It's just not going to happen. So I'm never going to get Permanent Waves on vinyl. It's not a bad record. It's just it's a pretty heavy hitting rock prog record, more rock than prog. You could definitely hear the lead up to Moving Pictures, the synth. There's a lot more synth on here. Not more than Moving Pictures, but than the previous record, and or Hemispheres I think came out before this. And just like you said, it doesn't hit the same way that Moving Pictures does, and maybe it's because we know those songs so well that they don't hit as hard. But honestly, when I was listening to Permanent Waves, I just thought I should just be listening to Moving Pictures. There's no point.
Yep.
There's no point to this one.
Yep.
And it's not a bad record at all.
No,
it's just I don't need it. I just don't need it. My banger is Natural Science, the last song.
Dang.
Busy as hell. That fucking riff is awesome. The solo is kind of wonky. Love that song. That song is an absolute fucking banger. So my number 8 is Permanent Waves.
Okay.
So what do you got for 7?
Well, here we go, dude. Number 7, album of the week, Moving Pictures.
All right, that's my number 7 as well. Well,
good. Thank
Moving
God.
Pictures is my number 7.
All right.
So what do you got for 6?
Here's where Rush gets good. I'm not gonna get these next couple on the vinyls, but here's where Rush gets good, and I enjoy my listen. Fly By Night, their second album.
By Night.
Fly by night.
Oh man.
I just don't care that much about this album. I know you love it. I think it's, if you butt it up against like my top 5, it's just not good. I mean, it's not as good.
Oh.
It's nothing special compared to the other ones. It doesn't rock as hard as their first. It's not as iconic as like Moving Pictures. It's no Caress of Steel. It doesn't have, 2112. And then I'm just going through my list here. But yeah, it's fine. I like parts. I like parts of the long song because it has some really fucking rad moments. But overall, it's good prog, but it's not Rush's best prog. But okay. I do like it because to say like Fly By Night is my least favorite of their top 6 is just like everything else after this is fucking good. And even Fly By Night, like I enjoy my listen through of this. It's like, but
you won't keep it on vinyl, right?
I've had this one twice on vinyl. And I purged it twice.
Purged it twice. Okay.
Purged it twice.
All right. So what is your banger? The title song?
Yeah.
Song?
No. Bytor and the
and the Snow Dog.
Bytor. Yeah.
Bytor, I think. Yeah, and the Snow Dog.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. I have a fun fact about that song too, which I'll bring up later. Well, I don't know about that, dude. My number 6. This one surprised me. I've always really loved this record, but in the context of their 70s discography, it's one of their worst, and it's A Farewell to Kings. I know a lot of people love this record. I know Primus, have been touring this record, literally playing this record in its entirety, and it is fantastic. I mean, it's an absolute banger. I just don't feel like the songs don't hit as hard. They were experimenting a lot more on this record with different instruments that they don't normally play. Just I don't want to say exotic instruments because they're not, but like Neil's playing like the chimes and what's the tube drums? What are those things called?
Tubular bells.
The tubular bells, yeah. So he's playing like all this kind of shit that he doesn't really play, that you don't really hear in Rush songs prior to this, and I think because of that experimentation, it lacks in songwriting a tiny bit. I still love this record. I have this on vinyl. This is an absolute banger of a record. My banger is Cygnus. This is just a prog masterpiece. Just the way the song builds on itself is just fantastic. It's fantastic. They write incredible prog songs. They really fucking do. And it's a long ass song. And so yeah, Cygnus is my banger on here. And it's a 2-parter song. I know the other part of Cygnus is on Hemispheres, but Farewell to Kings is my number 6. So what do you got for number 5? Go.
All right. Here's where it gets even more tough, because my next 2, I like parts of it. I think parts of it are beyond perfect, but this is not all perfect. Hemispheres. Okay. Hemispheres is my number 5. Their 6th album, 78. This was kind of similar to 2112. So side A on Hemispheres, solid. It was a great era of Rush. Not a ton of Getty, not a lot of vocals. They're really going at it. But you listen to Hemispheres because Livia Strangiato, right? That's why we're gonna pop on Hemispheres, because side B, when Livia Strangiato comes in like that, dude, that song is a shit. That is unreal. It's a perfect journey of their musicianship. Everybody is pulling out all their fucking stops. It's like they're trying to like upstage everybody else, but at the same time they're fucking clicking together in a way that they just never have. They're sounding like a band. They're sounding like a band that's coming into their own. And Livia Strangiato, man, that's like a fan favorite. Like everybody, a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people say like that is like their best. It's unreal. But it's that side A. That side A is just not nearly as fucking strong. And that's why.
But it's not fair. It's not fair.
Well, don't put out something so fucking good on side B if side A is not going to follow it, and that's why it's number 5.
Oh shit. Okay. So wrong, but okay. My number 5 is Rush's Rush, first record from 1974. I listened to this record a few times in the past, and I always really dug it. But this week, there's something about it that just clicked. I fucking loved it. This is their only album they did with John Rutsey on drums, and this overall this record has a more hard rock kind of glam thing going on, which is rad. There's so much Sabbath on here with the heavier riffs, and then there's some like not weird, but some like ethereal sounding Pink Floyd kind of things going on this record too. It's just they're just wearing their influences on their sleeve on this record, but it's fucking killer. They do it in a Rush way, and I think this album is fucking fantastic. People shit on it, and that's dumb. That's just dumb. It's a really good fucking hard rock record, and Rush fans, I came to realize this week they can be very frustrating. They could be very, very frustrating because Rush is fantastic. So my banger is What You're Doing. This is almost like a metal song with a riff that's it's a fucking Sabbath thing. It sounds so much like Tony Iommi on this one, and really, this song is an absolute banger. Is What You're Doing. So
okay.
Rush is my number 5. What do you got? And I don't have this on vinyl, but I will get it on vinyl. So pretty much everything from my number 7 onward, I'm going to get on vinyl if I don't already have it. So, Rush, have to get it.
What was your number? What was your 6?
My 6 was Farewell to Kings, which I already have on vinyl.
Oh,
yeah, I have Farewell to Kings on vinyl. I don't have Rush's Rush. So, what do you got for number 4?
good luck getting one of them Moon record pressings. Number 4.
Yeah.
That's like a cool like dream. Like I know Dave and I both of our what's the name of record store? Desert Grooves Records. Both of us are like dying for
record store?
Desert Grooves Records is dying for a fucking OG Moon pressing of Rush's Rush to come through the door, and we're both gonna fight over that one because
so good.
It's good stuff. Number 4, top 4, maybe Elite 4, Final 4, A Farewell to Kings, their 5th record. I think this is like objectively their best stuff they've ever done. This is it. They click so perfectly together here. Everything sounds so natural for just like 3 guys. Each one of them complimenting and trading turns at being the star. Whenever like Geddy's in the front with the bass, then like Alex is just kind of doing like softer just harms on the guitar, and then Niels is driving along. And when Niels' turn is to go, then Geddy's just like playing the bass line, letting it play out, singing a little tiny bit. And then Alex is kind of just noodling over Niels' the drum parts, and I think these guys did their best instrumentation here as a whole, as an album, and it's fun. And I do like Cygnus. That's like my favorite. But dude, Closer to the Heart deserves more talk, because it's under 3 minutes, right? And like there's longer pieces on this album. And they do this fucking radio friendly song that's Closer to the Heart, which is a solid fucking song. It's such a good song. And I've always kind of like thought it was so good, like Closer to the Heart. Like it's stupid, but honestly, it's kind of like a sigh of relief to be able to follow along so effortlessly to a ballad like this, and the melody flows so well. It flows better than that because the way it builds, like dun, 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 it goes up and then it goes down. And I just can't believe they did all of this stuff in under 3 minutes for this band to put that constraint on themselves, because it's like 2:54. And we know they can do long songs well, but they've never done a short song well, except for this one.
Which is something we're going to talk about on, or I want to talk about on Moving Pictures on the album of the week, how they're able to do so much in such a little amount of time. They're fucking great at it.
This is unbelievable. This is the only time they've ever done something under like 4 minutes that is a banger. The song's a banger.
It is. No, it's a great song. I wouldn't say it's the banger on the record, but
it's not the banger on the record, but it deserves to be talked about more rather than just like the pop hit of Farewell to Kings, because it's better than that.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Number 4, Farewell to Kings.
Farewell to Kings. My number 4 is Hemispheres from 1978, 6 record. This album is 4 songs, starts with Cygnus, ends with La Via Strangiato. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, La Via Strangiato.
La Via Strangiato. Yeah. So it starts with an absolute prog banger, ends with arguably one of their best songs. Top 4?
Top 3 for sure.
Top 4 maybe? Top 3, top 4. Yeah, I would say so. Rush songs right there. The 2 songs in between, they're fine, but I mean, they're good. Not they're fine. They're good, but I mean, just they're sandwiched within 2 absolute prog masterpieces right there. And and really, the reason why this is as high as it is honestly because of La Via. That's
unreal. It is unfucking real.
It's I forget how good this song is until I fucking throw it on. It's a fucking 9.5 minute instrumental to end it. And I mean, really, the song is all over the place too. It's absolutely, the riffs are absolute fucking killer. It just has this like this perfect mix of Jimmy Page, Tony Iommi, and in that riffage as well. It's in tone, in the songwriting, just you hear so much of the Sabbath and Zeppelin, but not derivative, not ripping it off. It's fucking perfect. So perfect. And just there's a point in the song too where it drops into this kind of like bluesy jam, which they've never done. Even after this record, they've never done this kind of bluesy jam thing that eventually just builds back into that main riff just to kind of round it out. And goddamn, dude, it's just an incredible song. Great fucking record. I want this on vinyl. I see it every once in a while, but it's always like $35-$60. It's always like an older pressing.
Damn.
And I'm just, fuck, I don't want to drop that much at that time. So
that's weird. I think Desert Grooves Records has it for $20.
Well, okay. They do, probably. So Hemispheres.
I know we do. It was my copy that I got rid of.
Should have just given it to me. That's fine.
I got rid of it like last week, so you can fucking go. Right.
So, yeah, that's my number 4. What do you got for number 3? Go.
So these 2 are completely interchangeable. I really, I love these 2, and I have one on the vinyls, and I really want the other one. I love them in completely different ways. So I almost want to say this is a tie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But
I'm putting 2112 at number 3, just because. Obviously, Caress of Steel is probably. I hope it's your number 1, but it's my number 1. But just because Rush just blew me away this week, so it's a little bit more fresh. That's why it's number 2. But dude, they're like interchangeable for sure. But 2112 is my number 3 right now. I have this on the vinyls. Not going to purge this one. This is just wild to even think about. A complete rebranding of this band. This concept of kind of futuristic meets the dark arts with the pentagram looking logo and all red, the color scheme, the naked, you see a butt on it on the back cover. It's just, dude, this is a great move by the band. I don't know who came up with all of it and who decided to do all of this, but that is just like whoever that was is like, you're the man. That is smart. But then they match it with some great fucking writing. This is really when you realize how amazing Neil was, because they'd keep like a 4/4 time in the beginning and end of a song, or like longer parts, but add like odd time signatures in the middle parts. But like you'd miss it because Neil did such a great job at keeping the groove flowing that he's doing something quirky and weird, but the band's kind of still in 4/4. And so what he's playing is, some other fucking 7/8 or 9/13 or some other bullshit that he's trying to fucking do. And the band probably doesn't even know. They probably don't even realize it. Yeah. They're just keeping going because he's such a good fucking drummer that he can do these things and then end up the same way. And like, what the hell just happened? and nobody's the wiser. Nobody's the wiser. I can't even believe it. I couldn't even believe how great this album is. But 2112, the title track, dude, come on, untouchable, perfect in every way. It's 20 minutes long, and I don't even think it's long enough, to be honest. Like, I don't ever get bored. There's so many parts to this. They flow so well. It tells a story. It's like watching Star Wars, man. You can do it 1,000 fucking times, and it's still just as good as the first time you saw it. So,
yes. Yep.
But like the other side, it does dip like a little bit, so that's why it's not like my number one, but it could be number two. So, but like, same with La Via Strangiato, right? Like, how do you write another side of a record that is as good as that? How do you write another side of the record that matches everything about 2112? You can't.
Yeah, you can't, because one side's going to be worse than the other. And like, you can't write an identical song. Yeah, it's just,
it'd be boring.
It's impossible. Exactly.
It would take away from the other side. But then it's like you're also kind of, what do you call it? Like cutting off your nose to spite your face type of thing. It's like no matter what you do, you're gonna lose. But at least they came out with a song and an album and a concept and the whole thing. I thought it was awesome, and I love this cover art. It's so cool.
It's a great cover. Yeah, absolutely. So 2112 is my number 3 as well. I mean, you said a lot of the things that I was gonna say as well. The second side of the record is just phenomenal. Or, I mean, the second side of the record is great, but the first side, 2112 side, is just, it's a perfect prog song. 20 minutes long, split up into 7 parts. The story is really cool, too. Just like, real quick, it's about a dystopian future in 2112 where essentially creativity and individualism is banned by the government. A guy ends up finding a guitar because there's no music anymore. This guy finds a guitar, brings it to the people who rule the planet, which are these priests or whatever, and they end up just destroying it. And by doing that, this man just becomes completely depressed. He ends up killing himself because that was his only form of happiness. Like when he found that guitar, his whole life changed, and it was all completely destroyed. So then, he ends up killing himself at the end of the song, and just the way the song, just the ups and downs of it, and just it's an incredible song. It truly is an incredible song. And an incredible record overall. And like you said, it's hard to say that the second side is bad because it's not at all. It's just, how can you go up against the 20-minute fucking epic, really?
It's so perfect.
And also, kind of a little bit of a backstory too. This is their fourth record from 1976. They had just toured Caress of Steel, which was a complete failure. Commercially, critically, fans hated the record back then. People stopped going to the point where people stopped going to their shows. Like they were broke. They had no money. The label Mercury Records was about to drop them, and their manager went to the label and said, "Just give these guys one more chance. Please go do that." And then we get 2112, fucking 2112 after that. Like this is make or break their career, and they come out with fucking this record. It's insane. The story is crazy. So that's my number 3. What do you got for number 2?
Number 2, Rush's Rush, their first album. This is okay. I mean, like you said earlier, so this is a band that is trying to be Led Zeppelin. They are trying to sound like Led Zeppelin, but then at the same time they are also trying to show that they are more than just like a Led Zeppelin. They're more than a Greta Van Fleet. So there is Sabbath here. There is Floyd here. There's psychedelic stuff here. There's harder things here. But I think it was panned and shit on because it does. Dude, there's clear comparisons to Zeppelin. This is the only other band that I can think of that rips off Zeppelin more is just, well, besides Zeppelin themselves, is Greta Van Fleet. But that's what this is. But it's very hard rock driven with some blues in there. Lifeson, dude, shines here, and he shows like how great of a guitarist he actually is. Although like their iconic proggy sound isn't here, but my God, dude, that guy just fucking that guy gets it. He gets it. All these guys get it, man. Even like Geddy, he's always been my least favorite. But fuck, man, Geddy's he's got some great licks too. Holy shit,
he's an amazing bass player. He's remarkable.
Yeah, so I don't know, dude. Rush's Rush. I love this record. This one, I listened to this one multiple times. This was fun. I had a good time. I didn't have to like think too much. You throw it on and like, damn, that was a good record. You smile a little bit, and you go about your day.
I
Working
love the
Man.
simplicity of the artwork too. Just like kind of the white background with some of like the black streaks and then the big pink Rush.
Oh, it's
Rush
so
logo.
ugly, but like I fucking love.
I love it.
Dude, I
I
love.
love
I
that
love
shit.
bright pink. Anything bright pink, like I'll buy it. I'll wear it. I don't care what it is. I love it. I love it a lot. But Working Man, dude, that's a hard rock, absolute banger. This whole album is a banger. I don't know. It's good stuff.
All right, my number 2 is Fly By Night, second record from 1975. This is definitely a step up in complexity, in the complex more complex songs, because now you have Neil on the drums, and obviously he's leaps and bounds better than, was it John Rutsey, I believe his name was. Not to say that John was a bad drummer, because he was great, but Neil is one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Can't even argue that. Just so you still hear a lot of that Zeppelin Sabbath style here, but the prog is creeping in. You could hear the prog. The songs are still fairly short, but you hear the prog influence. It's coming in. Neil just with his fills, his drumming, his. It's crazy that Neil never got songwriting credits. He got credit for writing the lyrics and playing the drums, but never a songwriting credit. But his drums are so important to the actual songs that it's a shame. It's really a shame. And Fly By Night, I just love how straightforward it is and poppy it is at times. It's just like this perfect combination of it all. It's not too much of one thing. And I love the song Fly By Night. That's my banger. The title track. I love singing it. It's so cheesy. It's so much fun. And I don't know. Fly By Night. I really love this record. I love the artwork. I don't care what anybody fucking says. This is the coolest artwork they have of that owl. You think
this is cooler than 2112?
I love it. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's just wrong. I'm putting up. That's going on a list of dumb shit Tyler says that is so wrong. I love the album cover. It's so like 1970s, like Lord of the Rings cartoon, just so science fiction. It looks like a science fiction book from the 70s. It's so of that era, and I love it. I love it so much. I love the blues and the grays and the way I don't know. I think it's an absolute killer, kind of bad album cover. I just love it, and this is just a kind of a quirky record in general of this era of the band in the 70s. Like, it's a weird transitional record, and I love Fly By Night, and I love the song. Fly By Night it's my second favorite Rush song, hands down. Second best. I just
Rush
wrote
song.
your dumbass thing in our fucking list of things you say stupid shit about. No, they got Neil, and this is like Neil's biggest foray into fantasy lyrics, right? Like this is nothing but Lord of the Rings type lyrics. So I do like the cover art in respect to the lyrics and the concept of the album. I get it, but to think it's their best is just silly.
Their best artwork, not their best record or best song.
Their best artwork. Yeah, that's silly. It's silly.
No, it's not.
It is. It is.
All right. Well, so that just means that both of our number ones are Caress of Steel, third record from 1975.
Dude.
So yeah, what do you got?
That's silly boy talk. So I will say, like, here we go. Caress of Steel. Yeah. So it was like 6 months ago to a day ago. I don't remember the time frame. I was at Uncle Olive's Attic record store. You don't see a lot of Russian stock. It just sells. And Caress of Steel, I texted you. He was like, hey, is this a good album? You're like, yeah, it's pretty good. I was like, well, let me just fucking check some reviews real quick, because Tyler's got some pretty shitty taste in music, because he thinks he must have all the Korn albums. And so I was looking at all the reviews on it, and like everybody fucking hates this record. It was just like unanimous. This is like their worst record. But then, like, we've learned over the years that the best records to buy are the ones that everybody loves or everybody hates. Because the ones that everybody hates, like, there's a reason everybody hates it. And if you like that one thing that everybody hates, then it becomes like an amazing record. And this is it. This is the record that everybody hates because it's so fucking
not always
weird.
the case, but sometimes.
A lot of the times it's the case. A lot of the times it's the case. I would say it's always the case that if you like that one thing that everybody hates, then you'll love this album. Because it's always like one thing. It's always just one thing. But anyway, the one thing in this album is it's just fucking weird. It's bizarre. It's weird and bizarre even for Rush. There's like at one point there's a big drum solo that comes out of nowhere that Neil does, and like everybody just kind of stops and he has a drum solo. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, why, how? And this record's only a handful of songs, but it's broken down into like parts, and it's their most psychedelic sounding. It's their most kind of like doom metal sounding. But then there's also these like kind of like sludgy jazz parts to the album that just sort of swing along. It's very kind of like BT Bam Colors-esque. There's a lot of weird fucking parts to it. And then I was listening to the other night in my garage while I was cleaning the garage, and friend of the pod, neighbor Phil, comes over, and it was on the Necromancer, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this fucking sounds like Baba O'Reilly." You know, the Teenage Wasteland, that down, and like it fucking does, dude. Like they straight up lift that. And I know it's a common chord progression,
no way.
But they play the fucking same. They let the notes ring out the same, and it kind of spoiled it a little bit for me. But damn, the Necromancer's a banger. But my favorite song is Bastille Day. This is a fucking amazing, epic song. Something in between like Hendrix and Sabbath kind of thing. It rocks. It's heavy. It goes someplace. It absolutely rips. The beginning part like modulates the key a couple times before the song even starts. So you're already kind of getting that weird, quirky, kind of like proggy thing where like, oh, we know how to fucking play our instruments. We're better than you. And I like it. I give it. I dig it. This album just gives, I don't know, this album just gives like zero love from people, and it bothers me. And they shit on it, and it's just completely unwarranted because this is their best album. This is their best album.
And I think another, because I agree with everything that you say about this record, and I think one of the reasons why people or Rush fans don't like this record is because it's too wild. It's proggier than I feel what most Rush fans are used to. Because the prog Rush songs are prog songs, but they're still formulaic. They don't really go outside of the box. They don't do jazzy things. They don't drop into like weird ass like fucking heavier, like you said, stoner rock psych stuff. They don't do that on 2112, on Farewell to Kings, Hemispheres. They don't do that on there, and that's fine. But because there was this to me, this record is one of their most transitional records because this is where they really decided, okay, well, let's become a fucking prog rock band because Fly By Night, people really responded to the prog stuff that we were doing. So let's make a fucking wild prog rock record, you know, and they put this out and people weren't ready for it. I think it's just people were not ready for this. And so when you hear 2112, at that point they took what people like the most about prog rock and also like the pop rock, hard rock scene and threw that into 2112. But honestly, Caress of Steel is just, it's a wild fucking record. It's all over the place, but I love it. I love it for that. And like you mentioned, you know, you'd asked me about this record. I said, yeah, it's good. And I'd only listened to it a few times over the years, and it was good. I've always enjoyed it, but it wasn't until this week when I listened to it 3 times, and this last 2 weeks I listened to it 3 times, and yeah, it's just something that just absolutely clicked with me on here. It just has a little bit of everything in the craziest way that Rush can do it. And my banger is the 20-minute song, The Fountain of Lamnith, or however you pronounce that. It covers the entirety of side B. I mean, it's just a perfect, crazy prog rock song. Love it. Just love it. So
it almost seems like prog bands stick, like you said, formulaic is a good word because yes, they're technical and yes, you know, the tempo changes and the time, but they don't change like genres too much. Yeah, they don't go from like a doom metal thing to like a jazzy bit, and they just don't do it that often.
Like the only band that I would say can kind of compare to this kind of prog at the time would be Yes, because Genesis was doing a lot of like the Renaissance Fair kind of thing. The Jethro Tull was doing the Renaissance Fair kind of styles, but Yes was doing, you know, after the first record, Yes was doing, they were throwing classical stuff in there, hard rock, metal stuff, jazz stuff. You know, I mean, listen to the Fragile album. That album itself is truly, I mean, that Fragile is a perfect prog record through and through.
It never gets this heavy.
It doesn't.
This is heavy. But
I think that's
sake.
What people are afraid of. Yeah. I think that's what people were afraid of because there was too much genre hopping. It wasn't like when you listen, like I said, when you listen to Genesis, Jethro Tull, like you expect to hear the Renaissance Fair stuff with the prog. That's what you expect. But with this, it's too much. It's too much for people to kind of wrap, like the common folk, I guess, to wrap their head around.
Well, I think when we talk
And
about,
we sound
like,
so gatekeepy and pretentious.
well,
but whatever.
we talk about like with punk a lot. Like punk is like both an ethos and a genre, and this is both prog as an ethos and a genre. This sounds like prog music. This sounds like Yes. This sounds like Genesis. This sounds like Jethro, but it's also like a mindset. This also sounds like prog because they're blending a lot of fucking things that you normally would not do in music, and it sounds cool. And they took time to do it, and it sounds great, and it makes sense.
You're right.
It's good.
You're right. When
Shitty
you're right,
album
you're right.
cover. I think the album cover is terrible,
Yeah.
but
It's a terrible cover. It's so
muddy.
it's not memorable at all.
Dude,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I don't
not
know what the fuck
memorable
it
at all.
is. I still, honestly, I'm
Could be
thinking
any
of mine
fucking
right now.
album.
I don't know what it is. Was it a coin?
Is it what?
I don't know what it is. I don't know what the fucking album cover is or the art is.
It's a coin, yeah. But from what I remember, it was from what I was reading. The cover was supposed to be like a silver coin to represent steel, but then they messed up in the pressing plant, and they messed up the cover and they made it gold, and they never corrected it.
Oh,
So it was
it's
originally
good.
supposed to be silver, but it came out gold or copper, whatever the color is.
It came out ugly.
Yeah, even if it was silver, it would be just as ugly. But yeah, that's Caress of Steel, our number one from Rush.
And this is
Good
like
stuff.
one of 3 albums they've ever done where there's no keys.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
So
What were the other
there's
ones?
that.
The first record, and then
And
had to have been
then-
Fly By Night, right?
And then Vapor Trails.
Vapor Trails had no keys on it.
Yeah, that was the one
Shit.
that had the fucking dope opener. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Not till 2002 did they have an album that was completely just a 3-piece without keys.
Oh man. All right. Well, Caress of Steel, number one from Rush. So we're gonna get into Moving Pictures, arguably their biggest record. So stay tuned for that. Go listen to that. Actually, go listen to that. Don't stay tuned. Just go fucking listen.
Fucking listen.
So that's it. That's all.
Fucking by night.